The photo stopped me mid-sip. I had just brewed my morning coffee, the kind with cinnamon I only make when the air turns crisp, and opened Facebook out of habit. There it was, an elegant digital wedding invitation, pale sage and gold, with wildflowers curling along the edges. The location? Willow Glen Farm, my farm. My name, Auntie Lorraine, tagged in the caption like I was a proud host. "So grateful to my amazing aunt for opening her land to us," wrote Ashley. My niece, the one I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. My hands went cold. I set the mug down too hard. The ceramic clink echoed through the quiet kitchen. They'd even named the barn, the Heritage Hall. Claimed it could seat 120, promised sunset views and warm horses nearby. Those were my horses, my land, and nobody had asked me a damn thing. I clicked into the comments, heart emojis, RSVPs. So charming. Can't wait. Your aunt is the sweetest. Sweetest? My mouth went dry. Ashley had been trouble since high school. A charmer, always smiling, always borrowing and forgetting to give back. But this? This was theft in lace and cursive font. I shoved on my boots and stormed outside. The air smelled like dry hay and the last of summer. I passed the old wheelbarrow, still full of weeds from yesterday, and headed toward the barn. That's when I saw them, tire tracks, deep, fresh, cut through the edge of my side pasture. Not from my truck, too narrow. Maybe a rental, maybe a caterer, already casing the place. My heart thudded low and steady, the way it did the day after Gerald's funeral, when I realized I had to run this whole place on my own. The barn door stood ajar. It had been locked last night. I always check, always. I stepped forward slowly, my palm brushing the wooden door. Something was different. It smelled faintly of lavender and perfume. I pushed the door open and froze. The barn air was cooler than outside, still carrying the smell of old hay and oil from the tractor Gerald used to baby. But it wasn't how I'd left it. The feed sacks were stacked differently, not slouched or half open like usual, but upright, straight, staged. Someone had swept too. My eyes followed a trail of faint broom lines toward the back, near the tool wall, and there, leaned against the side with a blue tarp half draped across it, was a white wooden arch. My stomach dropped. Not a garden arch, a wedding arch, half assembled, its screws still in a Ziploc bag duct taped to the frame. The nerve. I stomped toward the tack room, slapping on the light. The single bulb blinked once before warming up, casting yellow halos on the dust. My saddle was where it belonged, my bridles too, but something was wedged behind the feed bin. A garment bag. I tugged it free. Beige canvas. Expensive. Bits of straw clung to it like it had been hidden in a hurry. My fingers hesitated, then pulled the zipper. Lace. Off-white. Delicate. Heavy. A wedding dress. I didn't want to see the tag, but I did. Ashley's initials were monogrammed on the hanger. A boutique in Denver. This wasn't an accident. This was premeditated. I stood there, the fabric cold and foreign in my hands, a swirl of anger and disbelief tightening my throat. The last time I saw Ashley was at Gerald's wake. She'd shown up 2 hours late and left after 15 minutes. My fingers found my phone. I called Darlene. Voicemail. "Dar, it's Lorraine. You need to call me. Your daughter is—" I stopped. My voice cracked. "She's here. She's planning something. On my land." I hung up. My reflection in the tack room mirror looked older than I felt. Jaw set, eyes tired, but steady. Then I heard it. Gravel. A car. I stepped to the slatted wall near the barn door and peered through. A silver SUV crunched to a stop beside the house. The driver's door opened. Ashley stepped out, clipboard in one hand and keys in the other. I held my breath as Ashley's heels clicked across the barn floor like she owned the place. She wasn't alone. "Yeah, and we'll drape lights along the beams. Super rustic, super cute. The Pinterest board's under Ashen Cam Wedding. Look it up." She was on speakerphone. A chipper voice chirped back, "What about restrooms? I didn't see any on site." "Oh, we're renting 2 luxury trailers. I already booked them. Aunt Lorraine's barn has power and water. It's perfect. And don't worry, she never checks this early. She's probably knitting or feeding chickens or whatever old ladies do." The rage burned clean through me. I gripped the edge of the tack room door so hard my knuckles cracked. Ashley's voice floated closer. "Cameron's meeting the officiant in town this afternoon, and I'll confirm with the rental company for the horses. I already paid the deposit. Can't wait to see the photos. It's gonna look so vintage." My horses. The nerve. The sheer gall. But I didn't make a sound. I waited until her voice drifted toward the back of the barn, still rambling about calla lilies and signature cocktails, then slipped out the side entrance like a fox. I crossed the yard quietly. My boots barely touched the grass. Once inside the house, I locked the door behind me and leaned against it, letting the fury settle like dust. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to rant. I was going to win. I grabbed the legal pad from the side drawer, the one I use for hay orders and vet calls, and started writing. Property line boundaries. Trespass signage. Lock codes, change them. Feed invoices. Proof of ownership. Camera placements. Water hookup locations. Gate padlocks. Then I picked up the landline. Yes, I still have one, and dialed the number Gerald had insisted I keep pinned to the fridge. Tom Danner, local attorney. A good one. He picked up on the second ring. "Tom here." "Tom," I said, my voice steady as steel, "I need to talk to you. It's about trespassing." Tom's office still smelled like cedar and copier ink. Same rust-orange carpet, same wall of dusty law books nobody but him touched. He sat across from me, reading glasses perched low on his nose, scanning the photos I'd printed that morning, tire tracks, the half-assembled arch, the garment bag laid across my kitchen table. "Well," he said, placing the stack down, "I'll give Ashley credit for boldness. But legally, this is a clean-cut case of trespass and unauthorized commercial use of private property." I nodded. "Thought so." "Want me to draft a cease and desist?" he asked, already pulling up a template. But I shook my head. "Not yet." Tom looked up, brows raised. "I want to let her think it's all going her way. Let her spend her little heart out. Then when she's neck-deep in caterers and rentals and deposits, we pull the rug." He chuckled, low and impressed. "Playing the long game, huh?" "Gerald didn't raise me soft," I said, standing. "But I do want to install trail cams, quiet ones, and a motion sensor by the back gate." "Smart," Tom said, making notes. "Keep every receipt, time-stamped photos. If she so much as lays a folding chair on your grass, you'll have her nailed to the wall." Outside, the sun was high and hot. I decided to grab a coffee at the corner mug, partly to clear my head, partly to see who else in town might have heard the news. I was halfway to the counter when something caught my eye. A flyer, taped to the window. In curlicue font. "Live music. Ashley and Cam's wedding. September 28th. Willow Glen Farm. Open barn reception." My blood turned to ice. Not only was she using my land, she was turning it into a public event. I pulled out my phone, snapped a photo, and walked out without buying a thing. On the sidewalk, I stared at the picture, and I smiled. "You threw yourself a party, Ashley," I murmured. "Let's see how you like my RSVP." The first camera went up by the barn loft window, tucked into the shadow of the beam, high enough no one would notice unless they were sky-gazing, which I doubted any of Ashley's guests would do. The second, I mounted inside the birdhouse Gerald built years ago, the one by the mailbox that never once held a real bird, but made him smile every time he passed it. The third went low, just inside the pasture gate, nestled in the crook of an old oak root. All motion-triggered. All quiet. By 2 p.m., they arrived. A white van marked Timber and Twine Events. 2 men in navy polos, clipboard between them, drove straight up the gravel lane like they'd been here before. I watched from my porch rocker, hidden by the slats. The taller one kept calling out items, table runners, lanterns, bunting, while the other unloaded crates and a tangle of Edison lights. Their voices bounced like they'd done this 100 times. She wants the seating to face west, so they get the sunset behind them, one of them said, holding up a map. Ashley's got the whole timeline color-coded. Color-coded? On my property. I stayed silent, took photos, zoomed in on the license plate, time-stamped it all. By sunset, they were gone. I walked the grounds with my phone and flashlight, checking the trail cams. Green lights, all recording. Then I saw it. Something white slipped just beneath the barn door, caught on a splinter. I bent down, heart thudding, and slid it free. An envelope. My name in pink ink. Aunt Lorraine. I opened it carefully, hands instinctively steady the way they used to be when I'd dress a horse's wound. Inside was a handwritten note. Dearest Aunt Lorraine, thank you for being so gracious and forgiving. I know we've had our rough patches, but I've always believed family comes back around in the end. Your generosity means the world. You're still welcome to attend, of course, as a guest. Love, Ashley. I read the last line twice. Then again, my hands went cold. As a guest. I didn't sleep. The note sat on my kitchen table, beside Gerald's old pocket knife and the half-empty sugar jar. I stared at it until the words blurred into pink smudges. As a guest. Not family, not host, just another seat filler at a party I didn't invite. By morning, I'd gone past shock and landed square in strategy. I dressed with purpose, dark jeans, boots, my denim jacket with the hidden inside pocket, and drove straight into town. The timber and twine office was inside a remodeled grain shed near the feed store. Their sign had twinkly lights wrapped around it. Of course it did. Inside, a young woman in lipstick red as cherries smiled from behind a whitewashed desk. Hi there, how can I help you? Looking to host a fall event, I said casually. October-ish. Just wanted to see what's still available. She clicked on her computer. Let's take a peek. What kind of event? Family reunion, I said. Nice. Do you have a location in mind? Willow Glen Farm, I said, watching her eyes. She blinked. Recognition. Oh, we actually already have a wedding booked there end of this month, September 28th, under Ashley Barlow. Beautiful venue. I smiled, tight-lipped. Really? That Ashley's on the ball. She nodded, flipping through a binder. Head count 120, ceremony and reception. Setup starting the 26th. Let me check who she's using for catering. I leaned in, catching every word. Names, numbers, times. As I turned to leave, something on the wall caught my eye. A giant calendar. Color-coded with event names. There, circled in yellow highlighter, Willow Glen, 9/28, Barlow Wedding. Outside, I sat in my truck and exhaled slowly. My hands didn't shake. I just felt ready. Back home, I laid everything out on the kitchen table. Photos, screenshots, that smug little note, and slipped them into a fresh manila folder. I labeled it in thick black ink. Operation RSVP. Then the phone rang. Lorraine, it's Hank from next door, the voice crackled. Everything all right? Saw a couple strangers near your fence line, he said. One of them had a camera. Looked like they were scouting angles. My grip tightened on the receiver. Thanks, Hank, I said. I'll take it from here. The early sun cut long shadows through the pasture grass as I stepped out with my phone and a flashlight, retracing where Hank said he saw them. Near the east fence line, just past the old watering trough, I spotted it. A white ribbon, tied neatly around a cedar post, not a scrap of wind-blown trash. This was purposeful. Ceremony marking, maybe. Or parking. I walked slower, eyes scanning the ground. Further in, I found them. 3 shallow holes, about a foot apart, the kind you dig when you're testing soil for stakes or lighting. The dirt was fresh, soft. Someone had been here less than 24 hours ago. I followed the signs, literally. Propped against a tree, half hidden in a patch of ferns, was a rectangular board stenciled in peach paint. Private event, parking this way. Willow Glen Farm, Septed 28th. My own property, my own name, turned into a backdrop for a wedding I didn't authorize. I snapped photos, every angle. Then I yanked the ribbon down, shoved it in my pocket, and knocked the board flat with my boot. Back inside, I poured myself a cup of lukewarm coffee and queued up the trail cam footage. I started with the barn view. Late evening, around 6:50 p.m. Movement. 2 men again, unloading crates. But then, someone else. A tall man in a gray hoodie, walking slowly, clipboard in hand. Not part of the rental crew, too polished, too bossy. He walked around the barn, pointing at beams, then turned, checked the gate, and spoke to one of the crew like he owned the place. I paused the footage and zoomed in. The light caught his profile perfectly. I knew that face. Cameron Reese, Ashley's fiancé. I'd seen him once before, 5 years ago at Gerald's funeral, arm draped around Ashley like it was all a joke. He'd stepped onto my land again, this time with plans and permission slips he made up in his head. I opened my laptop, created a new document, titled it Cameron Reese, Unauthorized Entry Log, and started my list. I parked in front of the county clerk's office, right at 9, just as they unlocked the doors. Old brick building, 2 flags flapping like gossip in the wind. Inside, the place smelled like dust and printer toner. "Morning," I said to the clerk at the front desk, a young woman named Tasha who wore glasses too big for her face. "I need to check public records for any events filed under my address. Willow Glen Farm, 326 Highway 9. She clacked away at her keyboard, then frowned. "Nothing filed. No permits, no notices, nothing scheduled." I raised an eyebrow. "No applications either?" "Nope, just—" "Oh," she tapped again. "Wait, someone came in last week asking general questions. Didn't give a name. Just wanted to know about noise ordinances and temporary tents." I nodded slowly. That'd be them? Them. Ashley and her walking clipboard of a fiancé. Back home, I opened my folder and started a second file. Label: Official Notifications. Inside went a printed letter, dated, signed, explaining that individuals had entered my private property without consent and were attempting to use it for a commercial event. Not a formal charge, just a record. I addressed it to Sheriff Brody. He'd coached Gerald's softball league once. He'd remember me. I sealed the envelope, grabbed my purse, and walked it to the mailbox. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened the text. A photo of a floral arch, half assembled in a garden. Cream and blush roses. Draped silk. Romantic. If you didn't know the backstory, beneath it, a message. "Can't believe it's all coming together. You're going to love it. A." No greeting, no apology, just confidence. I stared at it, thumb hovering. Then I deleted it. "Not today, Ashley." As I turned back toward the house, a flash of movement caught my eye through the barn windows. Another vehicle pulling up. White van, long-stemmed logo painted on the side. The florist had arrived. The florist van idled just long enough for 2 women to hop out, both in black pants and matching lavender polos that read "Bloom and Vine." They moved quickly, too quickly, rolling metal carts from the back, loaded with vases, floral foam, and buckets of pale roses dripping with water. I watched from the porch, sipping lukewarm coffee, with the calm of someone watching a crime scene unfold in slow motion. One of the women, a tall redhead with a clipboard and a crossbody pouch full of shears, walked the barn's perimeter, pointing at the posts and nodding like she was blessing each one. That was enough. I grabbed my keys and strolled across the yard. "Morning," I called. They both jumped. "Oh, hello," said the redhead. "You must be—" "I'm Lorraine. I own the farm." Her smile faltered. The younger one, a brunette in heavy boots, gave a nervous little wave. "Oh," said the redhead, voice tight. "I'm Katie from Bloom and Vine. Your niece, Ashley, hired us. She said this was her aunt's property and everything was approved." "Did she?" "Yes. She signed the work order last month and paid the deposit last week. We're just here to deliver and prep layout. We're not installing anything today, just storing overnight for refrigeration." I let the silence stretch. Ms. Barlow didn't mention any, concerns. I tilted my head. "No, I imagine she didn't." Katie swallowed. "We can pack up and leave if this is a problem." I smiled, thin, flat. "No need. Leave it all exactly where it is." Katie blinked. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. I want everything to be just right." She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay. We'll go ahead and unload then." They worked fast, quieter now. When they were done, I thanked them with a politeness that made the younger one look over her shoulder twice. Once they drove off, I stepped inside the barn. It smelled like roses and wet moss, soft, expensive, temporary. I slid the bolt across the door behind me and whispered to the quiet, "Let's keep piling on." The invoice was still damp from the florist's cooler crate, but Ashley's signature was dry as dust, looped cursive, a little heart over the I in Barlow, $1,800 for blooms and bows, non-refundable after drop-off. I underlined that part in red. By morning, I was back in town. The hardware store bell jingled overhead. Same dusty aisles, same pegboard shelves, same bored teenager behind the counter pretending to scan TikTok when he was probably just texting. I walked with purpose. 2 locks, heavy duty, weatherproof. 3 metal signs, white with bold black font. Private property, do not enter. And a motion alarm small enough to hide behind the bird bath. It let out a shriek so sharp it once scared a fox off my porch. As I laid everything on the counter, the cashier, a middle-aged woman with a blonde perm and a sweater vest, smiled. "Getting ready for that big wedding, huh?" she said, ringing up the first lock. I stared at her. "What wedding?" she faltered. "Oh, there's been chatter. Someone said your niece was planning a thing out on the farm. Barn weddings are all the rage now." My voice dropped. "Is that so?" She looked ready to apologize, but I waved her quiet and handed her a card. Back home, I worked methodically. 1 sign at the gate, 1 on the side fence, 1 by the barn door where the florist had left her buckets. I planted them deep, no chance of a breeze knocking truth off its post. Then I walked out to the swing Gerald built for our anniversary. It creaked in the wind like it missed him. I bent to hammer in the last sign. And that's when I heard it. A car door. Close. Too close. I turned slowly, sun behind me. Ashley, stepping out of her SUV like she was arriving at a spa. Clipboard, sunglasses, keys swinging from one finger. She didn't see me yet, but I saw everything I needed. Ashley made a beeline for the barn, high heels stabbing into the soft grass like she owned the ground. She didn't see me, tucked in the shade of the apple trees. She reached the door and stopped short. Locked. She tried the handle twice, jiggled it with both hands, then stepped back and scanned the sidewall, checking for another entrance. When that failed, she yanked out her phone and stabbed at the screen. I crept closer, boots silent in the loam, just enough to catch her voice. "No, it's locked. She must have changed the code." A pause. "No, I don't want to call her. Just fix it, Cameron. We have less than 2 weeks." Another pause. "She's probably just being dramatic. She didn't say no." She turned, still muttering, and walked straight into me. Her eyes widened. She covered it fast. "Aunt Lorraine, oh my gosh, I was just checking on something that doesn't belong to you?" I said, hands in my jacket pockets. She smiled too quickly. "I just wanted to make sure everything's shaping up. For the big day." I didn't blink. "Ashley, did you ever ask me if you could use this property?" Her smile flickered. I assumed—" "No," I said. "Don't assume. Answer." She looked down at her shoes. "I thought you wouldn't mind. It's just 1 day, and it's so beautiful out here." "Beautiful costs," I said flatly. "And you didn't ask. You planned. You spent. You lied." Ashley's face hardened. "I'm your niece." "You were," I said. Until you crossed a line you can't uncross." She swallowed, color rising in her cheeks. "Are you going to ruin my wedding?" I stared at her a long moment. "You've got 24 hours to undo whatever you've done. After that, the sheriff gets an invite." Ashley didn't argue. She spun around like a gust of perfume and entitlement, climbed into her SUV, and kicked up a storm of gravel on her way out. I stood in her dust trail, unmoved. Inside, I poured myself a glass of Gerald's old brandy, not for nerves, just for ceremony, and sat at the kitchen table with the landline. "Sheriff's office. This is Dana." "Hi, Dana. It's Lorraine Holt. Is Brody in?" A pause. "He's out right now. Want me to have him call?" "Just tell him Lorraine called, from Willow Glen. Say it's about an event. He'll understand." She chuckled. "You bet." After I hung up, I pulled down the old metal box from the pantry shelf. Inside, under 2 decades of warranty papers, was Gerald's camcorder. Still had the sticker from Best Buy on it. The battery puffed out the back like a swollen tick, but it lit up when I plugged it in. That night, I filmed. A slow, steady walk through the property. Barn, pastures, swing, fence lines. My voice narrating every locked door, every sign, every visible intrusion. Evidence. By midnight, I was half asleep on the couch with the camcorder charging again beside me. Then the alarm screamed, a sharp, shrill banshee wail from the birdbath sensor. I was on my feet instantly, no panic, just motion. Grabbed the flashlight, the camcorder, slipped into boots without socks. The gate stood open, swinging just slightly. No vehicle in sight, no voices. But the gravel near the entrance was disturbed. 2 sets of footprints. One lighter, narrow. The other, heavier. Broader stride. In. Then out. I crouched down, let the flashlight skim across the impressions. They overlapped. Whoever was second had followed closely, maybe even chased the first. Back inside, I rewound the camcorder, played back the porch cam. At the 11-minute mark, I paused. Frame frozen. There, in the split second before motion blur took over, was Cameron. Hoodie, flashlight, 1 foot mid-step over my fence line. I hit save. Sheriff Brody pulled up right on time. 7:32 a.m. Gravel crunching under his tires like the farm itself exhaled. He climbed out slow, one hand on his hip like always, the other tipping his hat. "Morning, Lorraine." "Brody." I handed him the folder. No chit-chat, just facts. Inside, photos, timestamps, the note from Ashley, the wedding flyer from town, and the still frame of Cameron, mid-stride on my land. He flipped through it carefully. "Well," he said after a long pause, "this is one hell of a pot of stew." "Uninvited stew," I said, "with expensive garnish." He snorted. "You want formal charges?" "Not yet, just want it on record. I'd appreciate you having a word." "I can do that," he nodded. "They think you're an old lady with soft edges. I'll remind them you've got thorns." By noon, I was back at the house when the landline blinked red. One new message. Darlene's voice, nervous and sweet as always. "Lorraine, hi. I didn't realize Ashley hadn't cleared things with you. She told me you were thrilled, said you offered. I wouldn't have let her move forward otherwise, I swear. Please call me." I hit delete. The past didn't get to phone in apologies. That evening, I set a new trail cam by the orchard, close to the back fence where deer like to loiter and teenagers like to sneak cigarettes, just in case. The sun dipped low, that soft gold light turning every blade of grass into a prayer. I walked back up to the porch, dust on my boots and satisfaction in my chest. Then I saw it. A bouquet. Peonies and lilies, expensive ones, tied with satin ribbon, sitting dead center on my welcome mat. No card, just a small slip of paper curled in the ribbon. "Can we talk?" Kaya. I stared at it for a long minute, then picked it up, walked inside, and locked the door behind me. "You had your chance," I whispered. Tom didn't ask questions this time, just opened his office door, nodded once, and gestured to the worn leather chair across from his desk. I dropped the folder between us, heavier now, thicker with photos, printed texts, Ashley's note, and a fresh receipt for the flowers still wilting in my barn. He skimmed in silence, then leaned back. "They do anything else?" I nodded. "Someone left a bouquet yesterday. No card, just a note from Cameron. Can we talk?" Tom sighed. "You want to file anything today?" "I want to know my options." He rubbed his chin. "If they show up again, without consent, with equipment, with guests, you can call us in. We'll file trespassing charges, and if they try to proceed, you can request a restraining order. If there's a crowd, the sheriff can shut it down on the spot, especially if there's drinking, music, or public disturbance." I nodded slowly. "I want them to know I'm not bluffing." He smiled. "Oh, they'll know." Back at the farm, I moved quiet but quick. Padlocked the side pasture gates, changed the garage keypad code, called Hank and asked if he'd board my horses for 2 nights, starting the 26th. He said yes before I finished the sentence. "Not letting anyone mess with Ruby and Dusty," he added. That evening, just after sunset, I stepped out with a flashlight to check the far fence line. Then I saw it. A silver sedan parked on the highway shoulder, engine off, headlights out, camera lens pointed straight at my barn. I raised my phone, clicked a photo. The moment I did, their brake lights flared red, tires kicked gravel. The car peeled away into the dark, didn't get the plates. But I got the shape, the posture of the driver, the shadow of intent. I walked back to the porch, slipped inside, and poured Gerald's last bit of brandy into a jelly jar, held it up to the quiet house. "Tick-tock," I whispered. The envelope was cream-colored this time, tucked under the front door like a dead bird, just waiting to stink. I didn't need to open it to know who sent it, but I did. Cameron's handwriting was worse than his judgment, slanted, all caps, trying too hard. "Lorraine, I know you're angry, but this is important to Ashley. It's not too late to be part of it. She wants peace. So do I. Let's talk." See. I read it once, then again, just to be sure. Then I fed it to the kitchen sink flame. The paper curled like a leaf in fall. Brown, then gone. I spent the morning in town. Print shop first. 10 no trespassing notices. Black ink, large font. And at the bottom, "Violators will be prosecuted. For inquiries, contact Attorney Thomas Danner or Sheriff Brody." I posted one at every entrance, stapled them clean to the gate posts, even the one by the dry creek bed that nobody uses but teenagers with beer. Then I mailed a copy, certified, to Ashley's apartment in Denver. Let them sign for the warning. Rain started around 4. Not hard, just that soft, steady kind that makes the barn smell like cedar and the gravel hiss under tires. I was feeding Dusty a carrot when my laptop pinged. An email. From Timber and Twine Scheduler. Subject: Final delivery window. Confirmed delivery date 9/26. Willow Glen Farm. My jaw tightened. They had my email. I never gave it. Ashley must have listed me as a backup. I sat down at the kitchen desk and typed slowly. "This event has been canceled. The property owner does not consent to any activity on site. Remove from calendar immediately. Lorraine Holt." I clicked send, then watched the rain hit the window in hard little needles. They were coming anyway, but now it was all on record. I opened the email right after breakfast, just eggs and toast, because my appetite had gone the way of my patience. From Timber and Twine. Subject: Event cancellation confirmed. Professional, punctual. "Thank you for the update, Ms. Holt. We've removed the event from our calendar. No further deliveries will be made." I almost smiled. But then, another ping. Same sender, different message. Forwarded from Ashley. "Ignore my aunt. She's confused. The event is still happening. I'll handle it. Ashley Barlow." The gall, the condescension, like I was some old lady wandering around in a nightgown, mumbling about raccoons. I didn't scream. I forwarded the entire thread to Tom and Sheriff Brody with a one-line note. "She's not stopping. Please advise. Then I picked up the phone and called the sheriff's office directly. Brody answered himself. Lorraine. I got an email. She told the vendor to ignore me. Silence. Then, send me everything. And Lorraine? Yes? If anyone steps foot on that property after today, we'll intervene. I exhaled slow. Good. After I hung up, I pulled out a fresh ledger book, the kind Gerald used for feed schedules and hay counts, and set it by the front door. On the cover, I wrote in red Sharpie, Invasion Watch. Then I logged the first entry. 9:21, 9:48 a.m. Vendor cancellation confirmed. Ashley's override attempt forwarded to sheriff and attorney. I closed the book, ran my hand over the cover, then looked out the window. The barn stood quiet. Flowers still wilted inside, hay catching light like gold thread. I leaned closer to the glass and whispered, Come at me soft, I come back iron. Tom called just after lunch. I filed the cease and desist, he said. Certified. Sent to Ashley, Cameron, and every vendor you gave me. It's official now. Thanks, Tom. You still want to play it quiet? For now, but I'm done playing nice. After we hung up, I pulled my coat from the hook and drove into town. First stop, the church bulletin board. I tore down 2 flyers, both glossy, both with Ashley's name and my farm's address in curlicue gold letters. One had a quote from Corinthians about love being patient. Patience had run out. Next was the grocery. I grabbed milk and some crackers, then peeled another flyer off the corkboard near the entrance. No one said a word. At the corner mug, the final flyer waited in the window, but as I reached for it, another one was going up. Different design, pastel colors, cupcakes, the words, Neighborhood Bake Sale in honor of Ashley and Cam, Septa 25th raising funds for the honeymoon. The woman taping it up turned, startled. Oh, Lorraine, isn't this exciting? Mara, I said carefully, did Ashley ask your permission to use the church lot? She blinked. Well, no, but she said you were thrilled, that this whole thing was your idea. Said you wanted the farm to feel full again. I looked her straight in the eye. It isn't. Mara went pale. Oh my, I'll talk to the committee. Please do. I left the store without my coffee. Back at the farm, I pulled through the gate and spotted something caught on the latch. Another envelope. No handwriting this time. Just my name, printed in block letters. Inside, one line. You'll regret this. Typed, no signature. I stared at it for a full minute, then folded it in half and slid it into the Invasion Watch ledger, right under the 921 entry. Sheriff Brody didn't blink when I walked into his office holding the envelope. He just set down his coffee and said, Show me. I placed it on his desk. White, ordinary, chilling. Typed words. No signature, no fingerprints probably, but enough malice to curdle milk. He read it once, then again out loud. You'll regret this. Harassment, he said, grabbing a form. We'll log it. I'll run extra patrols near the farm starting tonight. I nodded. Let them come. I'll be ready. By 3 o'clock, I was back on my porch, dialing a number I hadn't called in years. Julio's Productions, said a voice. Deeper now, but still familiar. Julio. It's Lorraine Holt. You used to mow my fields back in high school. Oh, Miss Holt. Wow, hi, what's up? I need a videographer. Someone discreet, someone local. He didn't ask why, just said, I can be there the 25th. Want stills too? Yes, anything you catch I want on record. You got it. That evening, I walked the fence line again. Habit now. My boots knew the path better than my eyes did. Then I saw them. Tire tracks. Fresh. Curving off the gravel and slipping through the brush near the east gate. I followed. And there, tucked under a blue tarp behind the tree line, was a stack of folding chairs. White, glossy, rental tags still flapping in the breeze. I knelt, peeled one back. The sticker read, Reserved, Bride's Side. On my land, hidden. I stood slowly, took a photo with the timestamp clear as day. Then I leaned close to the nearest chair and whispered, "You just made it personal." The photo of the folding chairs sat on my laptop screen like a confession. Timestamp, 6:47 p.m. Location, East Tree Line. Sticker, Bride's Side. I zoomed in on the rental tag and typed the company's name into my browser. Bluebell Events, slick website, pastel logo, a contact email right at the top. I wrote, "Hello, I am the legal property owner of Willow Glen Farm. I'd like to verify who authorized the recent chair delivery and when setup is scheduled. Regards, Lorraine Holt." An hour later, a reply came. "Hello, Ms. Holt. Our records show the order was placed and confirmed by Ashley Barlow. Setup is scheduled for 9/26. Please let us know if this information is incorrect. Megan, Bluebell Events." Incorrect? No, just criminal in tone. I forwarded the email to Tom and Sheriff Brody. Then I called Julio. "We're on for the 25th? I asked. "All set," he said. "I'll have time-stamped footage, drone views, the works." "Bring extra batteries," I said. "This story might be longer than you think." Not 10 minutes after I hung up, there was a knock at the door. No car in sight, just a courier in a beige windbreaker holding a white envelope. "Delivery for Ms. Holt," he said. I took it. The envelope was heavy, gold-trimmed, embossed return address, Barlow Reese Union. I opened it. Inside was a formal wedding invitation. Willow Glen Farm, September 28th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, reception to follow, and in blue ink, handwritten at the bottom. "You'll change your mind." I didn't laugh. I didn't rage. I opened the ledger. 9/23. Wedding invitation delivered by courier. Handwritten note attached. Then I slid the card under a brass horse paperweight Gerald once gave me for Christmas. "Let them think they're winning." Hank met me at the fence, already holding a carrot for Dusty. "She's got spirit," he said, rubbing her nose. "Runs in the family," I replied. I updated him on the threats, the courier, the hidden chairs. He listened without interrupting, then nodded toward the old truck under his carport. "You need to block that back road," he said. "I'll bring it over, park it sideways, and call it landscaping." I smiled. "Thanks, Hank." Gerald would have done it for me. I drove home slow, watching the sky bruise into evening. Just before I turned onto my drive, I spotted her, Ashley's car, parked where the gravel meets the edge of my pasture. She sat inside, hands on the wheel, staring out at the barn. Didn't move, didn't text, just watched. I stopped my car behind the trees, watched her watching me. She never saw. Later, as the sun dipped, I walked the fence again. Routine now, familiar. Near the orchard, something caught my eye. A shallow footprint, fresh. 1, not 2. Someone had stepped in and turned around. I followed it to the base of an old elm where the roots rose up like fingers. Tucked in a hollow knot was a small box, cardboard, weather-stained. Inside, a photo. Ashley and Gerald. She couldn't have been more than 10. He was holding her up to pick apples from the tree behind the barn, smiling that shy smile he wore only for her. On the back, in delicate cursive. He'd have wanted this. No signature. I stood there a long time, fingers trembling. Then I took the photo, walked home, and placed it on the windowsill beside the ledger. Not in anger, not to destroy it, just to remember what this place meant before it became a battlefield. I whispered to the glass, "Not like this." I skipped breakfast, walked the fence line with empty hands, no clipboard, no phone, just the sound of grass under boots and the occasional snap of a twig. The barn stood still, flowers gone limp. The air inside smelled like damp silk and dust. I wrote in the ledger that night, slowly. 9/24. Tire tracks by the front path. No entry, no contact, no response needed. Brody stopped by around noon. Didn't knock, just called out as he stepped into the barn. "Just checking in," he said, eyes scanning the space. "You holding up?" "Depends on the hour." He leaned against a post, arms crossed. "You're covered legally. Cease and desist. Witnesses. Even video. But expect one last stunt." "What kind?" "The kind people pull when they know they've already lost." That evening, the rumble of tires pulled me from my chair. A white truck. Logo half scratched off. Trailer full of folding tables and tablecloth bins. The driver hopped down, clipboard in hand, confused but confident. "Barlow wedding setup?" he said. "Nope," I replied, stepping forward with my phone in hand. "You're trespassing. I suggest you turn around." He hesitated. "Sheriff Brody knows this land," I added. He blinked. "You the aunt?" "I'm the owner." He nodded slowly, muttered something I didn't catch, then climbed back into the cab and drove off. I waited until the dust settled before walking back in. That night, I pulled out one of Gerald's old VHS tapes, the one labeled Fall Apples, Ash, 1998. I popped it into the little TV VCR in the den. There she was, Ashley, 6 years old, wearing yellow boots and a red flannel, running across the pasture with a tin bucket. "Smile, Ash!" Gerald called from behind the lens. She spun, beamed straight into the camera. A moment caught in amber. The tape glitched, froze on her face. I stared at it until the screen went blue. Then I whispered, "God help me if I'm wrong," and turned the TV off. The scent hit me first. Roses, sweet, bold, out of place. My kitchen window was cracked just an inch, but the smell slipped through like it belonged. I stepped onto the porch barefoot. There, on the railing, lay a single rose. Fresh, long-stemmed, dew still clinging. No note, no wrapper. Just the flower, quiet as a threat. I picked it up and held it like it might shatter, then tucked it into the back pocket of my jeans and checked every lock on the house. All tight, all unchanged. Julio arrived around noon. He waved from his truck and unloaded like a pro. Tripods, lenses, even a drone in a sleek black case. "I'll start with perimeter cams," he said. "Then we'll set the barn angles. Want motion-triggered audio?" "Everything." He worked clean, fast, never asked questions. The kind of loyalty you earn, not buy. By sunset, he had the drone circling, humming overhead like a watchful hawk. I watched from the porch, the rose still in my pocket. Then the phone rang. The landline. I picked it up, already knowing. "Lorraine," Darlene's voice cracked. I tried. Ashley won't listen. She says it's happening no matter what. She's got people coming in from Denver. She thinks you'll change your mind once everyone's here." I closed my eyes. "I know," I said. She sniffed. "I'm sorry." "I know." Then I hung up. From the barn, Julio's voice cut the stillness. "Ms. Holt, you'll want to see this." I walked over, boots crunching dry grass. He pointed to the drone screen, grainy but clear, a van, long, white, no logos, rolling slow down the east trail near the orchard, unmarked, uninvited. He zoomed in. My voice came out steady. "Log it, every frame." The drone footage played like a crime reel. Julio sat beside me, eyes narrowed, thumb pausing every few seconds. "There," he said, pointing. "License plate, Colorado tag." I nodded. "Get a clear still." 2 men stepped out of the white van. No uniforms. One wore a red cap, the other had a clipboard. They unloaded 3 large crates and hauled them into the trees. Behind the orchard, again. I opened my laptop and typed a short message. "Unauthorized activity documented at 6:17 p.m., 9:24, footage attached. Men unknown, plates recorded. Holt." I hit send, to Brody, to Tom. Then, on Julio's suggestion, I stood on my porch and recorded a video. "My name is Lorraine Holt. I am the legal owner of Willow Glen Farm. No one has permission to host, set up, or attend any event on this land. Any attempts will be reported to law enforcement." We dated it, saved it, and backed it up twice. By morning, the sky was pearl gray and too quiet. I stepped outside and felt it in my chest. The barn door was open, not cracked, wide. Inside, rows of white chairs lined up with military precision. Down the center, a soft aisle of rose petals, like it was already happening, like I'd vanished. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I took out my phone. Photographed everything, then rolled up my sleeves. Julio arrived within the hour, saw my face, and didn't ask. We carried the chairs out one by one. No drama, no commentary, just sweat and work. We stacked them by the main road, next to the private property sign. Then I grabbed a new stake and hammered a fresh warning into the dirt. Event canceled by property owner. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Brody called just after sunrise. "We found the van," he said. "Talked to the men. They claim it was a mix-up. Someone named Cameron told them setup was cleared." Was it Cameron's voice? Didn't say, but they've been warned. "Deputies will circle your land all day on the 26th and again on the 28th. We're not taking chances." "Thanks, Brody." I hung up, stood at the kitchen sink, and stared out at the barn. Then I baked. Lemon bars, Gerald's favorite. The house filled with sugar and rind and something that felt like peace, or maybe just a memory. Julio returned mid-afternoon, quiet and focused. He replaced 2 cameras with wider angles, adjusted light levels, checked battery backups. "You've got full coverage now," he said, "even if they try something after dark." Good. Around 6 Paitse, the sky turned the color of bruised peaches. That's when the SUV came. Black, silent. It rolled to a stop at the far edge of the field near the creek. The driver's door opened. Ashley stepped out. Alone. She walked slowly toward the barn. No clipboard. No dress rehearsal. Just her. I met her halfway. Neither of us spoke at first. Then she reached into her jacket and pulled out the photo, the one from the box in the tree roots. Her and Gerald, apple-picking day. "He'd want this," she said quietly. I didn't reach for it. "You can still walk away," I said. "There's time." Her lips parted, eyes wet, but no words came. I turned and walked back toward the porch, boots heavy on the grass. "She won't," I whispered to the wind. I woke before the sun. Didn't bother with coffee, just stood at the window, watching the world hold its breath. The 26th. Setup day. I pulled on boots, the same pair I wore the day Gerald proposed by the fence line, worn soft with time, still fit. Julio arrived just after 7, his truck humming low. He handed me a spare drone battery and a protein bar. "Long day," he said. "I'm ready." By 8, we had live feeds on every angle. Porch, barn, back pasture, even the dry creek path. Brody texted at 8:47 a.m. Sharp. Standing by. B. At 10:12, the first truck came. White, unmarked, boxy. Then a second, close behind. I stepped out into the road, cease and desist letter in hand, laminated and clipped to a clipboard like armor. The first driver rolled down his window. "Barlow wedding?" "You need to leave," I said. "This is private property. No event is authorized." He glanced at the clipboard, then at his buddy behind him. "We were told." "By Ashley, I know." He tapped his phone. "She's on the line." Ashley's voice crackled through speaker. "Just set up. She's bluffing. It's all family. She won't do anything." I tilted my head. Brody's cruiser pulled up behind them, lights off, but presence loud. I pointed. "Want to test that theory?" The trucks backed out. By noon, the field was quiet again. I walked the perimeter alone and spotted something tucked behind the barn near the equipment shed. A guest book, leather-bound, gold letters, Ashley and Cameron. I opened it. First page. "Love always, Mom." Signed in Darlene's cursive, soft and looping. I snapped a photo, then closed it gently, respectful. Then I looked at the barn one last time and whispered, "Not on my watch."